LITEON of Taiwan has invested $34.3 million in a small laser company in Singapore. Judged by the number alone, it's a modest piece of news. But I read it as a move to build another supply route for optical communications in AI data centers, one that doesn't pass through China. While the United States locks up capacity with enormous sums of money, players in Asia have begun looking for a different path, one that avoids a head-on fight. That's the shift this news lets us glimpse. Hello everyone, I'm Tai with 31 years in the semiconductor industry. Today I'll walk you through the news that Taiwan's LITEON has invested in DenseLight, an optical components maker in Singapore. By the end of this video, you'll understand why light has become a leading role component in the age of AI, and what the small size of this investment tells us about the shape of the world's supply network. Let's get into it. Let's start with an everyday analogy. Picture a popular chain of lunchbox shops. What sells these boxes is a secret sauce poured over the rice. No matter how luxurious the side dishes are, without that sauce, customers walk away unsatisfied. The whole taste rests on one small bottle. The chain doesn't make that sauce itself. It buys it from a specialist brewery that does nothing but sauce. Lately, though, an unprecedented lunchbox boom has arrived. Every chain wants to scale up sales at once, and a scramble has broken out over the few breweries that can make sauce this good. No sauce, no lunchboxes. More serious still is what the giant national chains are doing. With deep pockets, they've signed long-term contracts with the biggest breweries, even paying to expand their production lines, and locked up the entire sauce output for themselves. If you come along later and simply ask to buy some, there's no guarantee your turn ever comes. The shops that were slow off the mark still have their lifeline in someone else's hands. So the popular chain made a different move. It took an equity stake in a small brewery overseas. Hold shares, send in a board member. That makes you more than a customer. You get a seat at the table when deciding what sauce gets developed and how much of it gets made. Even when the boom floods everyone with orders, your own allocation is easier to secure. And this brewery has no ties to the giant chain's network. It's a separate supply route altogether. For customers who feel uneasy relying on a single group, it can become a valuable second option. From here, let's look at how this simplified story actually plays out in the real industry. Our subject today, Taiwan's LITEON technology, specializes in optical packaging, the manufacturing and testing of optical modules, and power systems for data centers. LITEON has announced it will invest $34.3 million in DenseLight Photonics, an optical communications component maker based in Singapore. Once the deal closes, LITEON will hold roughly 21% of DenseLight and appoint one board director. DenseLight develops and manufactures in-house the optical components built on indium phosphide, or InP, DFB lasers, gain chips, and semiconductor optical amplifiers. Through the partnership, the two companies plan to jointly develop high-speed optical components, optical modules, optical engines, and rack-scale optical interconnects, targeting the AI data center market. In their sights are next-generation ultra-high-speed links at 1.6 and 3.2 terabits, and a new packaging technology called CPO. Behind all this is the spread of AI. In AI data centers, it isn't only GPUs and HBM that matter. The optical links between servers and between racks are now critical, and demand is surging for connections that are fast, power-efficient, and highly reliable. According to press reports, by the way, the price paid works out to about 18 times DenseLight's revenue. That's aggressive pricing. Now to the heart of it. My first question on reading this news was simple. If you're just buying lasers and assembling them, why take an equity stake at all? If all you want is the part, you can buy it on the market. And yet LITEON is paying a high price to own shares. That's where the real meaning of this deal lies. To mass-produce 1.6 and 3.2 terabit optical modules, the laser's output power, wavelength, heat generation, and chip geometry all have to be tuned to the system as a whole. And when demand spikes, whether you can secure production allocation becomes a matter of survival. As I read it, LITEON is moving from being the side that asks to be sold finished lasers to the side that has a say in what lasers get made and how many. That said, I think it's too early to call this a counterattack against the Americans. The scale on the US side is in a different league. NVIDIA has invested $2 billion each in the optical component majors Coherent and Lumentum, $4 billion in total, securing multi-year purchase commitments and access rights to capacity. It also struck a long-term partnership with Corning to grow optical connectivity capacity tenfold. And the U.S. Commerce Department has reached a preliminary agreement to give GlobalFoundries up to $300 million in support. Against LITEON's $34.3 million, NVIDIA's investments alone are about 117 times larger. And the U.S. side has a clear, enormous buyer in NVIDIA, with capital, purchase agreements, manufacturing capacity, and policy support all pointing the same direction. LITEON and DenseLight, meanwhile, have no named optical communications customer and no purchase agreement at this point. Honestly, the gap is overwhelming. So what is this investment? At first, I wondered whether it was an Asian optical alliance, but the announcement says nothing about Chinese customers, and it doesn't look like a structure that stays inside Asia either. The natural reading is this: build the lasers in Singapore, have Taiwan's LITEON handle packaging and module assembly, and sell into the big North American cloud providers. In other words, a candidate second source, made in Asia, that doesn't route through China. Taiwanese coverage also notes that being a non-Chinese supply chain is an advantage in winning orders. LITEON's management is reported to expect this investment to start contributing to earnings between the second half of 2027 and early 2028. Before then, it has to get through development, evaluation, and qualification with the major cloud providers. So this isn't a case of adding capacity because a customer has been won. It's an investment that locks up laser technology and a supply route first in order to win customers later. If we lay out the balance of power as it stands, the American approach, keeping everything from demand to manufacturing inside the United States, looks far stronger. But it's also true that some buyers worry about a supply chain concentrated in a single group. If another route that avoids China grows up outside the US, buyers gain options. The things to watch from here are sample shipments of 1.6 and 3.2 terabit products, passing customer qualification, the start of mass production, capacity expansion, and concrete purchase agreements. How far up that staircase they climb will decide how this investment gets judged. Let me sum up. Taiwan's LITEON is investing $34.3 million in Singapore's DenseLight, taking roughly 21% of the shares and one board seat. The aim isn't to buy components, it's to have a hand in laser design and production allocation. The sums are an order of magnitude smaller than what the US side is spending, and no customer is visible yet. Even so, can another optical route, one that doesn't pass through China, get into the American market? As a challenge, I think it's worth watching. That's all for today. I'll keep bringing you semiconductor news and analysis. So if you found this useful, please like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. This has been Tai on Semiconductor News Decoded.